So I grew up going to Catholic school in Louisiana. One of the things I was always interested in was science, and the idea that it might represent a conflict of interest with religion really never occurred to me. In fact, despite getting an odd look from the bishop after mentioning my interest in genetic engineering during confirmation, it wasn't until moving to Birmingham that I gave this whole thing much thought. Here, where you have an interesting juxtaposition between science and religion, is where I began to recognize a conflict, and recently, its underlying cause. So science, in its purest form, is biased towards the discovery of truth. While many people will claim to understand and agree with this fact, the truth is that they will abandon their position when the conclusions of science seem to conflict with their religious perspective or when it's politically inconvenient, as we can see here. How can we justify this double standard? The more that I learn about history and human behavior, the more I wonder, are we really as smart as we think we are? Biologically, we're almost identical to Neanderthals, and we actually have smaller brains. If underlying our cultural sophistication we're intellectual equivalents to Neanderthals, we're definitely giving ourselves more credit than we're due. So if we're intellectually superior, as we typically assume, Neanderthals are extinct, right? Why are we still mistaking the purpose and implications of our inventions? I would argue that science is one such invention whose proper role is frequently mistaken. Don't believe me? Then why are we using science to argue divinity? This isn't just lay people. It's scientific geniuses like Stephen Hawking, who recently argued that our model of the universe is complete without the need for a God. Let me assure you, science will never disprove the existence of God. It can't. Our universe is an open system, and a deductive proof by exclusion, as in classical mathematics systems, is impossible. At the other end of the spectrum, you have the response analogous to, even if God's real, who needs him? You see this when science promises eternal life, a life without work, the end of humanity's problems, and eternal bliss. Often, the people espousing such seemingly sophisticated ideas are oblivious to the religious parallels. On the other hand, you get what is effectively a knee-jerk reaction. In response to science overreaching its bounds, you get religion stepping beyond theology to take on scientifically sound arguments in astronomy, physics, biology, and archaeology. This is the effect our inadequate understanding of the role of science has. This is a popular topic here. So what we need is an analogy simple enough that our Neanderthal brains can understand it. And no, controversial metaphors comparing the debate between science and religion as something akin to a chess match don't work. Not only is this a bad analogy, it doesn't work for this presentation since Neanderthals didn't play chess. So fire is a perfect metaphor for that a Neanderthal brain can understand. Harnessed by humans for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, it's a tool that's been around long enough for us to understand it intimately. By understanding a dilemma fire represented to ancient man, we can better understand the dilemma science represents to modern man. Like science, the ability to harness fire represented a major paradigm shift for ancient man. With this tool, man was able to illuminate his world, to protect and warm himself, to entertain, and suddenly he was a master over nature, able to transform landscapes, to forge new metals, and to destroy villages. This was an incredible achievement, and man had a powerful tool with which he could do great good or great evil. But like science, fire was often misunderstood and misapplied. Fire was worshipped directly for its power and indirectly as an enhancer during religious ceremonies. It was abused on account of the godlike power it gave those who knew how to use it. Fire's medical application wasn't limited to cauterizing wounds and sterilizing equipment. It was overapplied as a treatment for all kinds of medical and spiritual ailments. Some would even fear it outright, associating it with evil. Anyone heard of hell? So now, as humans of the technologically sophisticated 21st century, facing the controversial invention that is science, we would be wise to contemplate what lessons and challenges our last comparable paradigm shift represented. From this ancient experience, we can conclude the following. Science expands our understanding of the world. It replaces superstition with a logical understanding. It's a paradigm that's here to stay. Science is not a replacement for religion. At the same time, so science must also accommodate religion, but religion is not a replacement for science, and religion has to learn to accommodate science. Thanks.